Welcome to Houses of the Lord. My name is Thomas and I will be your host for today's video. What you see in the background here is the Altenberg Abbey, or Altenberger Dom, as we say in German. I chose this church for my very first video because it has a very long and colorful history. And if you want to learn more about this history, then stay tuned. I hope you like it, subscribe, and now I would say let's discover the Altenberg Abbey together. The Altenberg Abbey, a jewel of Gothic architecture and a wonderful example of a beautiful house of the Lord. In 1148, Cistercian monks built a first Romanesque monastery church in the valley of the small river Dünn at the foot of the Bergische Land. Some 100 years later, the foundation stone was laid for a Gothic cathedral and became what we finally know today. And then, after nearly 150 years, the Abbey Church was finally completed at the end of the 14th century. A first available drawing of the whole abbey is dated 1707 and gives us a very good impression of the layout, which basically didn't change since then. With the secularization of 1803, the fate of not only this church was sealed, and the monastery went into decay. Altenberg then went into the possession of the sovereign lord, valuable furnishings were sold or auctioned, and the grounds were sold to a salesman from the nearby Cologne. As a result, nobody was obliged to keep the buildings in order, and the abbey started to fall into ruins. In the decade following 1806, a chemical factory producing ammonium chloride and Prussian blue was installed in the monastery buildings. Unfortunately, in the night from the 6th to the 7th of January 1815, a fire took down all the buildings south of the abbey, as well as the roof of the complete church. Finally, in 1834, The ruin was bought by the family Fürstenberg Stammheim and thereafter entrusted to the Prussian state for reconstruction. Then, in 1835, King Friedrich Wilhelm III issued a cabinet order that the church be consecrated for simultaneous use, Catholic and Protestant. And this was another turning point. So in 1865, the abbey was built. What they thought. But it turned out that the overall stability of the main nave was not sufficient. So what they added was a buttress system, what you can see here, in about 1917. And that is how it looks today. So now you have learned something about the beautiful surroundings. Now it's time to go inside. Let's go. Follow me. We start going down the main nave, and what we see first is a choir grille made of iron, which separated the monks from the lay brothers. On the right side of that grille, we have the statue of the monk Bernard of Clairvaux, and on the left side, what is believed to be Moses. And now we are moving towards the nave to one of the church's highlights, the Madonna of Altenberg. It is located in the first high choir base and is visible throughout the complete church. Dated around 1530, the statue is made of gold-plated wood and was part of a chandelier which the monks enlightened every day after their last prayer. One interesting detail of the Madonna is the fact that she has two fronts. Now that you have seen one of the first highlights of the Altenberg Abbey, we will go on exploring other beautiful details of the church. We start with the coronation altar in the southern choir chapel. Maybe this is an unusual place, but Catholics and Protestants at the time couldn't agree on a proper placement for this beautiful altar. What we see is the coronation of Mary by God the Father on her right side and Jesus on her left. And over her head soars the dove of the Holy Ghost. Basically, the altar shows the reception of Mary in heaven. And it was probably built at the end of the 15th century. On the southern aisle wall, we see three wooden figures representing the Immaculate Conception. In the middle, we have the Virgin Mary carrying a child and standing on a blue globe with a bust figure of an angel. She's flanked by two female saints identified as Barbara on her right and Cecilia on her left. And you may have noticed that the southern wall of the church has no windows. Now we come to something that one can find in many churches: the Stations of the Cross or the Passion of Christ. The sandstone reliefs show the way of Christ from his sentencing to his deposition. They are set into the exterior walls of the church. And here we come to a very precious reliquary from the 13th century. It contains the heart of Engelbert II, Count of Berg. It is located in the central ambulatory chapel in the very north of the church. I was informed that a few years ago it was opened together with a forensic expert, and he confirmed that the contents were indeed human heart tissue. Another very important bronze statue in the northern aisle shows the motif of the so-called amplexus or embrace. Although this motif is already known since late medieval times, this particular one here is relatively new, around 1958. Jesus leans forward and embraces both Bernard of Clairvaux and Martin Luther. This is widely interpreted as a sign of the ecumenism, and as you already learned, the Altenberg Abbey is used by both Catholic and Protestants. And finally, we come to the obviously most magnificent part of the Altenberg Abbey, the western window. With its 8 meters of width and 18 meters of height, it is Germany's biggest and most detailed church window in one piece. Built between 1386 and 1397, it shows impressively how Cistercian principles of window design changed over the years. The precepts of monk Bernard of Clairvaux of showing no figures or colors were completely abandoned. One can basically say that all golden details represent the heavenly town or paradise, and the white figures the enlightened angels and saints. To explore all the details of this masterpiece would need a separate, very long video. And even after that, a visitor would have to bring binoculars or a very big ladder in order to experience the full picture. The window unfolds its full magic in the afternoon sun when all the golden and white details turn the church into a true house of the Lord. And, of course, I will not leave you without some real audio from the parish joining in the mighty organ on Easter this year. Enjoy. Hello my friends, this was my very first video for Houses of the Lord. I hope you like it, and if you do, please don't forget to subscribe, and please keep in mind that I will not be able to produce a new video for such a beautiful church every single week. Therefore, I will activate the bell button so that you get short notice if I have something new ready. So, for the time being, enjoy and see you later. Bye-bye.